Hatha Yoga Nusashana. Now we begin the discipline of yoga. Now, in this moment, we have an opportunity to experience yoga. That is Sutra 1 of 1, collected by the Sage Patanjali. Yoga is more than just stretches, yoga poses. The asanas or poses are one small piece of this huge, incredible picture that encompasses yoga or yoga. And I believe that in the West, a lot of the most enriching and most beautiful parts of yoga have been lost to us. So that's why when I did my teacher training, I intentionally went to India to complete the training there. And I learned that I had been doing a lot of things wrong. And I also learned a lot about yoga, philosophy, what it really is. An important part is the sutras, which is why I have begun with the very first one. And I will continue with another sutra each class. I encourage you to learn more about them. Many people have dedicated their entire lives to studying these, so I will leave some links in the description that you can check out. Another important aspect of yoga beyond asanas or poses is pranayam, or breathing techniques. Yep, just like that. Prana is the life force. Your breath is your energy, is you. So bring your attention to your breathing. Notice, is it shallow? Is it deep? How long is the inhale versus the exhale? We'll begin by learning basic yogic breath. Come to an easy position. I like cross-legged, but sit however you're comfortable. As long as your back is straight, your energy channels will be clear. Breathe deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose. Hold the breath for a second at the top, and then out through the mouth. Sometimes when we become stressed, we get too focused on the in-breath. The in-breath is always long, and the exhale very shallow. If you're having a panic attack, you're hyperventilating, this is what you're doing. So, when you are intending to bring yourself into a space of peace, try to lengthen the exhale. So count your inhale, 1, 2, 3, and then try to extend your exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can continue this practice as long as you like. See how long you can make your exhale. Now, the last aspect that I want to cover before we get into the asanas is mantra, or prayer. Another very important aspect of yoga. Today's is going to be a hatha class, so it won't be flow. We will establish foundational poses and then move into other asanas, and then always be returning back to those foundational poses. Before we begin that, I would like to teach you to chant the Om, the most simple mantra there is. You may know already that the Om resonates at the same frequency as the earth itself. So chanting the Om brings us into the same frequency as all natural life around us. It gives you something really, really incredible to ground into, to connect with. The Om is 3 sounds: A, O, M. I will demonstrate. So the start is Ah, your mouth is open, and then the next part, O, you make an O with your mouth, and then is just humming at the end with your lips closed. Now, on your in-breath, take a deep in-breath, and on your out-breath, chant the Om. One more time. Deep breath in. Now we can begin with some loosening exercises. I encourage you to loosen whichever parts of your body feel tight. For the loosening exercises that I choose in this video may not be the exact ones that you need. If you spend a lot of time with your shoulders hunched up like this, working at a desk, or carrying trays, if you happen to be a server, you may want to really focus on loosening the neck. You can do some circles. Remember to change directions as you do that. Some important ones that I want to cover are wrists and knees. These are the 2 places where if someone does sustain an injury in yoga, it's generally a wrist or knee injury. You can avoid injuries altogether by listening to your body and not pushing yourself too far, and practicing loosening exercises. So, wrists. Extend your arms outward at the height of the shoulder and flex your wrists up, fingers pointing at the ceiling. And flex down, fingers pointing at the ground. In breath up, out breath down. Now we're going to do some circles. And change directions. Do the same number of circles for each direction. If you hear them clicking, maybe give them a bit more time to loosen up. Now, knees. Allow your left leg, we'll start loosening the right, so allow your left leg to remain in the same position it was for easy pose. Just comfortably, knee bent, heel near your hip. And then interlace your fingers right underneath your knee and draw a circle with your toes. Did you hear that? Crack. I'm doing 6 clockwise and now 6 counterclockwise. And we'll switch. Excellent. It can also be nice to give your feet a bit of a stretch out. Doing just the same that we were doing with the wrists, basically. Our feet hold us up, support us all the time, take us everywhere we want to go. Sometimes I think we don't appreciate them enough. Always a good idea to stay hydrated. Now let's move on to beginning to loosen up the spine. We'll come into tabletop pose. So your wrists are stacked beneath your shoulders. Your knees are stacked beneath your hips. Your back is nice and flat, like a table. And on a breath in, you're going to press through your hands, drop your tailbone down, and reach up to the sky with the back of your heart, with your upper back. Allowing the crown of your head to drop down. And on an out breath, you're going to begin to raise the crown of your head up, your tailbone up, and your belly drops down, cow belly. And inhale, angry cat. And exhale, cow belly. You can begin adding in some extra movements here and there, whatever feels good for you. This is just you getting your body ready for asanas, so do whatever you feel called to do. Okay, now prepare to come to standing. And stand at the top of your mat, your feet hip distance apart. And how to tell exactly how far apart that is, plant your left foot nice and parallel to the short end of the mat, and put your right foot perpendicular to it, heel touching the insole of your left foot. Then just turn your foot to be parallel. Now your feet are exactly hip distance apart. You've used your own body as the measuring tape. I was standing with my feet way too far apart for a lot of my early practice, so it's helpful to learn exactly how far apart hip distance is. So now that your feet are planted hip distance apart, begin to grow some roots. Let the roots growing out of your feet reach down into the earth, grip onto that soil, and be completely solid. Now, grow. Visualize space growing in your ankles, knees, between your vertebrae, lengthening up through your entire body. And pick your shoulders up, roll them behind you, shoulder blades onto the back body, heart nice and open, noble chin parallel to the floor, and soft gaze. Extend through the arms. And we'll stay in this pose for several breaths, getting used to the feeling of stability. Okay. Now, we're going to move into a back bend. On an in-breath, raise your arms up to the sky. Elongate your spine even further as you reach up to touch that sun glowing above you. Feet rooting down, arms reaching up, and grow. On an in-breath, reach your heart further forward. Try to keep your pelvis in line with your feet. Don't let it jump out. But also allow yourself to open further across the chest. You can also keep your hands on your lower back as you do this for a little bit extra support. And if you feel good here, only then allow the head to drop back. And on an out breath, slowly, gently return to Tadasana. Now, every pose needs its opposite to remain balanced. So, we will do a forward fold. Hinging at the hips, keeping your back straight. Allow yourself to come forward, feeling that stretch in the hamstrings. Now don't scrunch your shoulders up in order to reach your fingers down. You're not doing the pose then. Keep your back straight. Only extend your arms down as far as you can without losing this straight back. If you activate your quads, you will open up significantly more space in the hamstrings. So flexing the front of the legs in order to stretch the back of the legs. If it's distracting you that you're not reaching your toes, if that's all you can think about, simply just hold on to the elbows as you lean forward. Allow your head to be heavy. Allow yourself to relax into this pose. And on each out breath, another opportunity to go deeper. Every time you manage to stretch deeper into an asana, you have created space for yourself. You have pushed through resistance to make space for good things. When you are ready, you feel complete with your forward fold, simply begin to bend your knees and open your knees wide. I'll change to this direction so you can see better. Bending your knees and allowing your elbows to rest on the inside of your knees. Prayer at the heart. And you can crack those hips right open. You can remain on the soles of the feet if you have that flexibility or if that feels good for your body. Otherwise, you can come to the balls of the feet. Crack those hips nice and wide open. Exposing yourself. Being vulnerable with yourself. Allowing that space. Nice. This is a bit of balancing and a bit of stretching. Okay. Bring your fingertips down to the mat. Bring your heels down. Allow yourself to just roll onto your seat. We're going to come into bound ankle pose. Another pose that gives you an opportunity for openness, for vulnerability. Bring the soles of your feet together and keep your back straight on your in-breath, elongating those vertebrae, and on your out-breath, you can bend your elbows into the knees again and reach your heart forward. This pose, already with the soles together, just holding onto the ankles, that might be enough for you. And if that is, great. If it feels good, if you feel like you're on that edge in between effort and ease, that's where you want to be. Listen to your body. Don't be afraid to venture a little bit deeper on your out-breath. You might be surprised how deep you can go. Now, let's come into staff pose. Extend the legs long, even lift up your booty and scooch forward a little bit. This just pulls the flesh away to somewhat and roots the sitting bones down into the mat. Flex the feet, legs are straight, back is straight, nice strong back, hands palm down into the mat, right next to the hips. When you're first starting out, this pose might feel difficult to maintain. And that's understandable, but practicing it will help you to strengthen your back, which is very important. Now, bend your knees, placing the soles of your feet on the mat, and begin by bringing your right foot up next to your left hip. We're going to do Lord of the Fish pose. On an in-breath, raise your right arm up and begin to twist, placing those fingertips down behind you and raising your left arm up on your next in-breath, and on your out-breath, planting this elbow on the inside of your knee and looking over your right shoulder. You can feel a nice stretch across the trapezoid in this pose when you press the elbow and the knee toward each other. And we always twist toward the right first. When that feels complete, on an out breath, slowly turn yourself back to center. And switch your feet, right foot next to the left hip, right foot planted into the mat. Reaching back with your left hand first, and then planting that right elbow on the inside of the right hip, and gazing over the left shoulder. Chin mudra can be a nice gesture in this pose. Feeling this twist, wringing out those toxins in your body. We all have them. It's okay. Stay for one more breath. And on your out breath, slowly turn your torso back to face front, releasing your arms. And give your shoulders a little roll out after that stretch. Now come back to tabletop with me. And this time, allow your sit bones to fall back toward your heels. And inch your fingertips further along the mat as you drop your forehead down. Pose of Child's. This pose, such a place of safety and comfort. This is a pose you can return to at any time in any practice if you feel overwhelmed. I'd like to offer a nice message of gratitude to our Mother Earth in this pose. And she provides for us everything that we need. She's our mother, and we are her child. Whenever that feels complete for you, bring your fingertips back under your shoulders and press up. And now you can actually just bring your body all the way down, body onto the mat. Shavasana. Let your body be heavy. Feel it being cradled by the earth. Thank yourself for coming to your mat today, for opening up and making space. Feel free to stay here as long as you like. When you're ready, bring some subtle movement back to the body. Bend your right arm next to your head, bending your knees. Roll onto your right side. And you can use that left hand pressed into the floor to support you as you return to seated. Thank you for practicing with me today. I'm going to close with one last prayer. Peace for all. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.